joined the Minecraft server where everything I have can be stolen from. Every player gets their own base, build it up, make money, and dominate. But there's one problem: other players can raid you. So I started at level 0 with one goal: to become the richest player on the server. First, I grabbed my starter kit and headed straight into the war zone, because apparently that's where we collect all the rare items in the beginning. And after exploring for a bit, I found my first dungeon. This thing had multiple floors, packed with enemies and loot. And in the second chest, I immediately found a multiplier and an extractor. I had no fucking clue what they did, but they looked expensive. Apparently dungeons also have spawners that you can break for spawner fragments. And you need 10 of these fragments to trade for one full spawner. So yeah, I was gonna need a lot of these. The loot on the other floors wasn't great, so I kept moving. I found a few more dungeons and opened some crates that I got from a lucky drop. Eventually I headed back to spawn and set up my first base. Everyone starts with 3 spawners, so I placed down my multiplier and an extractor that I got from the first dungeon. The mobs get multiplied, the extractor kills them, and the money goes straight into my base core. Basically, I had just built my first money printer. But the base core had 3 upgrades that could make it even better. Spawner gold increases how much money my spawners make. Extraction gold increases how much gold my extractors pull from each mob. And block limit lets me place more spawners, extractors, multipliers and other defense blocks, and obviously all of that costs money. So I headed straight back into the war zone to make some cash. And this time I started finding dungeons everywhere. Another one, another chest, another spawner fragment, but most of the loot was absolute garbage. But I guess if you open enough chests, something eventually has to be useful. So I kept grinding, dungeon after dungeon, chest after chest, and somehow it actually started adding up. After filling countless inventories with enough loot to open a small store, I headed back to my base and grabbed all the spawner fragments I'd collected. 10 fragments for one spawner, so I traded them all in, and finally had a bunch of new spawners to add to my farm. After a couple more warzone runs, I had to tear down all my spawners again, because I decided it was finally time to rebuild my base. So I tore down most of the starter base and started over. My plan was to build upwards, because the beacon takes up a huge chunk of space, so building around it would have made the whole thing look like shit. So I built a second floor above it instead. The plan was to fit all my spawners onto one level, send the mobs through a water stream, multiply their value and funnel them into a water loop, packed with extractors. Sounds easy, right? It wasn't. I messed up the water flow, I rebuilt it, I messed it up again. But eventually I got the whole thing working. I quickly placed my extractors, multipliers and finally the spawners. No, my mobs spawn with 50 gold, get pushed through the multipliers and end up in the extractor pool. Okay, this actually works. But 50 gold per chicken wasn't making me rich, so I upgraded all 3 upgrades. And now, instead of 50 gold, the mobs were worth 115 gold each. Now we're talking. And with my base finally making some serious money, I decided it was time to diversify my income by stealing it from other players. So I grabbed all the TNT I had left and started scouting for a base worth raiding. The first few bases were already completely looted, until I found one with 53,000 gold sitting in the base core and a bunch of spawners. Yeah. This one was getting raided. I started the raid and blew my way through the entrance with TNT. Once I was inside, I stripped the base for everything I could get. Spawners, multipliers, extractors. And finally, I reached the base core. 53,000 gold. I blew my way through and took every last bit of it. But 53,000 gold wasn't nearly enough. I wanted more. A lot more. So I went back to scouting. Most of the bases without a raid shield were already completely raided. Until I finally found this. From the outside, it looked like a giant box. But the more I looked at it, the better it got. Multiple layers of protection, 300 HP mud bricks, then 750 HP stone bricks. And deep inside were tons of spawners, multipliers, extractors and chests. Yeah, I was definitely breaking into this thing, but there was one problem. I only had 10 minutes, so I grabbed my best TNT and went straight through the side. One layer, then another and another. I immediately started taking everything I could. The deeper I got, the better the loot became. I found chests packed with some seriously good stuff, and then the owner showed up, and fighting inside this place was a nightmare. There was water everywhere, I was getting pushed around constantly, and I was trying to break blocks at the same time. Somehow I managed to kill him, so obviously I went straight back to stealing his house. I started grabbing the rest of the loot, and then he came back. This time it was close. I was literally one hit away from dying, but I killed him again. I was almost through the entire base, but there was still one problem. The base core had 2.6 million gold inside it, but I had barely any time left, so I threw down the last of my TNT and started blasting my way towards it. I was getting closer. I didn't make it in time, but I still walked away with a lot of loot, and after seeing how massive these other bases were, mine was starting to look pretty pathetic. So I expanded my base, added more defenses, and made room for all my new spawners. And after all that work, this is what the inside of my base looked like. Not too bad. By the way, I was now level 258 chip staker. Honestly, that sounds way more impressive than it actually is, but I started at level 0 with nothing, and now I had a massive farm, a fortified base, and a whole lot more gold. I wasn't the richest player yet, but I was getting close. And if you want to check out RaidRise for yourself, the server is opening soon. I'll see you there.